What's that?
Brazil?
Brazil, yes, sir. Do you like Brazil?
All right, yes.
All right.
You like? I'm with Bolsonaro, hopefully he'll be out.
Do you like Bolsonaro?
No.
Oh, you don't like Bolsonaro?
No, he's a fascist.
He is, really?
Exactly opposite. He's pro-fascist.
I'm professional.
You are. Well, you're in the wrong camp here, friend.
He just wants to get. He just wants to I mean, you know, he's not being really obnoxious, but you are kind of being provocative, which I guess is kind of.
Did I ask you a single? By the way, being provocative, isn't it a good thing?
Yeah,
Because that's how debates going on. I hear your side of the story.
I said it's okay. I said, of course it is. But,
provocative and confrontational are a little bit two different things.
Yeah.
I like the song to be provoked. No.
Okay.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I
good.
love to be provoked. It's
Because
so,
then that toughens our logic too.
Yeah, but after a while, it gets
What's that?
annoying.
That toughens our logic too.
Exactly, that's right. And it hones your skills in kind of talking to people who might disagree with the views that you espouse. Isn't that normal for Americans?
But you're acting like this is the first conversation we ever had. It's like I'm getting tired of this conversation.
Yeah, okay, I'm not talking to you. You don't have to talk to me, that's the whole point.
No, I'm not saying. I mean, you're doing your job. You like Bolsonaro. He's a fascist.
I didn't say anything about him. I just asked
You
you.
just said it.
You don't
like Bolsonaro.
No, I asked you don't like Bolsonaro. I didn't say automatically that I do like Bolsonaro. I don't know.
What do you mean you don't
I didn't know
You're
much
from
about his
Brazil.
politics. Well, actually, I'm from the USSR.
You're from where?
No, I'm from USSR originally, not Brazil.
But you work with Brazilian.
I do business with Brazil. Yeah, that's right.
Is this the is that the new mechanical orchestra?
I believe so.
So you're gonna march now? What's gonna happen now?
There's something they wanted to go across the street to Whole Foods or something.
But you are across the street.
Yeah.
We're going to march in exchange to Jim Bezos at some point.
So you're gonna. Oh, you mean he has a house here?
Oh, yeah. Well, this guy's a billionaire. Probably has houses all over the place. He's got a mansion up Broadway, about 10 blocks or so.
I hate Bezos, to be honest with you. We all do. Good. So we're on the same page. See, we have things to agree. Okay, good. So we're in the same camp, at least in this respect. See, that's how we come to the truth and common denominator.
Okay, we find out.
So are you sending your whatever you're doing recordings to Brazil?
To around the world. Do you want to be around the world? Featured around the world. How the whole world is against Bezos.
I'm against Bezos too, but I'm probably not the best spokesperson.
I see. Well, yeah, neither am I, but you know, it's just the voice of the people. How do you say it in Latin? Vox populi, exactly. Vox populi. That's the most important thing.
My bad pronunciation.
Well, actually, nobody knows how to speak Latin. It's a dead language. So you can only speculate. I guess only the Catholic priests, kind of try to say their sermons in Latin, for better or for worse. But you have no idea if they're pronouncing words correctly. Actually, how do they do that? I mean, nobody knows how to speak Latin, and yet they read these liturgies in Latin. I mean, how do you know how to pronounce this word?
In Spanish, it would be Vox Populi, right? And what would it be in Portuguese?
I don't know. I speak Portuguese. I speak Russian. I told you I was born in Russia. I'm from Russia. It doesn't mean that I can have connections to Brazil. See, there's like Russia, United States, Brazil.
I thought maybe since you work for it, I would have that logo there. I mean, I thought maybe you knew a little.
I don't. Well, it's all in English, as you can see, so it really doesn't matter. I'm not speaking in Portuguese or Russian to you. It's only English.
Oh, it's an English language.
Yeah, for anyone who is English speaker, because I don't speak Portuguese. I wish I could.
So you were born in Russia?
I was born and raised in Russia. I was 29 when I left it.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that's why, honestly, when I see this revolution, hammer and sickle, it kind of rubs me the wrong way. Because, these guys want to create socialism here in this country. I mean, I live this nightmare. It's nothing but nightmare. So how, honestly, these people think that anyone would subscribe to that kind of ideology that murdered 100 million people, innocent people?
Well, I'm not.
That was such a distortion. That's not.
I'm sorry?
That was such a distortion what you had in the Soviet Union. That wasn't
Yeah, but I hear the same argument all over again. It's like, oh, China was distortion. Oh, and then Eastern Europe was distortion. Oh, Indochina was distortion. Cuba, North Korea, Central South America distortion. I mean, so in 100 years, the communists failed.
What happened in the Soviet Union? That was completely grounded in Russian culture and all the pressure that regime was under its early years. I mean, Stalin was wound up being a authority, and he's even bringing back a lot of elements. I mean, he brought back things like, I mean, everything Stalin did, other than the show trials, that was all taken from the czars. That was the only thing. That was the only thing he did different, was bringing the show trials, because Stalin actually cared about public perception of him, whereas the czars didn't give a shit about anybody's thought.
Okay, how about
so
this?
it was a profoundly Russian regime.
And in China is a profoundly Chinese,
Yes.
and in Cuba is profoundly Cuban, North Korea, but they all have the same common denominator: innocent people murdered. That's what bothers me the most. You know, and again, I live there. It's not like I read a book about it. I mean, I live this, and it's a nightmare. Nightmare. No freedoms.
Lots of people get killed here too. It's not any different in the capital.
Well, so you're equating the system here with the socialist system? Seriously? Like free market economy with the socialist command economy?
Look at all the people. If you add up the amount of people that the U.S. government has killed, it's millions upon millions.
U.S. I'm talking about their own citizens. That's the key word. Their own citizens.
Well, they do kill citizens here, but so if you kill somebody in another country, then it's perfectly okay.
No.
It's only bad
okay.
if it's your own country.
Let's forget about that part. I mean, I'm concerned. First of all and foremost, I am concerned about my fellow Americans. I mean, this is my country. My people matter to me the most, no matter what. If there's a war, I mean, what side am I going to be on? Of course, on the American side. It's a war. I mean, if Canada declares war on us, no matter how much I love Canadians, well, I'm sorry, this is my country, I'm going to defend. Hypothetically, of course, it's not going to happen. So when we talk about their own citizens, the Soviets, the Chinese, all these communist countries, they murdered their Pol Pot. They murdered their own citizens. That's the key, their own citizens.
The U.S. is way up on high on the list of murdering people. Now, how do you think capitalism exists? It's a massive exploitation. Do you think anybody?
Is it the same
if we had another system? Do you think if somebody came along and says, "Hey, I got an idea. Let's take like 0.001% of the people, give them billions of dollars, and have everybody else be completely immiserated and have nothing and have to scrap for a living?" And you think how many people would say, "Hey, that sounds like a really good idea. How do you think this is all kept in place? You're completely naive. Open your eyes, friend. Open your eyes."
Okay, so
violence has been the whole story of capitalism from day one throughout its entire history. Millions upon millions of people have been killed by the U.S. in countries all over the world to keep the capitalist system in place, and the U.S. at the top of the pyramid, and the top industrials and pioneers at the top of the pyramid of the pyramid.
So, but when was
massive violence and killing is what keeps it all in place?
But when was the last time that we were murdering our own citizen en masse? When was it? Can you give me one point in history of 2.5 centuries of our history where we did that? Purges, for example.
Why is killing people in other countries en masse okay? Now you have an answer.
Trail of Tears.
American governments have come down on national minorities and murdered them, if not en masse, in significant numbers. You know,
On purpose, for no reason whatsoever.
Outside of the fact that they were, Native Americans in that case, and going beyond that, the people brought over in slavery from Africa.
Okay, so let's say capitalism is bad. You think that socialism is the solution? That's kind of your goal, to replace our system?
Any socialism in the future is not going to be anything like the Soviet model. That model is dead and gone.
Okay.
I wrote a book of 900 pages.
Oh, beautiful.
On the whole history of all this stuff. I know this stuff.
And what's your name? Can I read it?
Sure, you can.
What's your first and last name? What's the title of the book?
My name is Pete Dolack.
Pete Dolack. How do you spell it?
D as in David, O-L-A-C-K. The name of the book is It's Not Over, Learning from the Socialist Experiment. It also has a history of the Prague Spring, what happened there, which is a real tragedy. And there, in the Prague Spring, they were trying to convert it into what socialism is supposed to be. And yes, the Soviet Union came in and shut the whole thing down. It was a massive, massive tragedy and a crime. Okay, so let's make no mistake about that. And you know, obviously, Stalin, massive criminality. This is not in dispute. Certainly not by me. I have a chapter in the Sandinista Revolution, which was utterly decimated and destroyed by the United States and killed people in massive numbers there because of what the U.S. So you can read about it at length, and I don't spare what happened under Stalin or the bad things that happened because it took. If we're going to actually learn from this, we have to look at it in fully, which means we have to look at the bad things. Why did it take the turns that it did?
Okay.
Why did the things happen? But also, let's not paint it all in black either. There are other things. It was supposed to be something else. So let's step back from an historical perspective and look at this. So what socialism is supposed to be is economic democracy, political democracy. Now, there's no economic democracy in this case in this country. And when you don't have economic democracy, you don't have any real political democracy. You have the form or the shell of it, which is what we have in this country. Right. I can talk to you. I can fly the red flag. And yes, it's true. No police officer is going to run up and haul me off to jail because this is true.
Okay.
This is true. We live in a bourgeois sham democracy and not an outright dictatorship. But we have the shell of democracy here, not the form of it, but not because do we have any control? Right? Gentrification is utterly out of control. I mean, look at all these towers that go up. It's built like Bezos has his mansion, and who knows how, right? And there's entire buildings that are full of billionaires, and you know, God knows they use it about 10 days a year to have their houses all over the place. At the same time, people are sleeping in the streets. People are struggling to pay their rent. They can't do it. Well, how can this be? Nobody would vote for anything.
Okay, but
we don't get any say in it.
But here's the fundamental question: do you think that socialism will cure all these ills that they're referring to?
Yes, it can. Automatically, will it do it? No, because there's nothing automatic about anything. You know, what socialism is, how I think it's properly defined, and how I personally define it in the books and when I'm speaking to folks I meet out there, is economic democracy and political democracy. So that means everybody having control in their workplace in some kind of cooperative setup, or maybe for a big industry where it's too big to be a cooperative. It might be state-owned or owned by a level of government, but it's democratically controlled. The workforce makes the decisions within it. The community that's affected by the decisions that the enterprise makes has a say in it also, and that all these things are made in the community context. Production is for the benefit of the community, for human need, for the environment, and not for one person at the top of the pyramid to make billions of dollars of money, and everybody else gets immiserated. And then you have a political system that's democratic that supports all of this. So you have some direct democracy where it's viable. There's a lot of things you're going to need. A parliamentary system, and then you have proportional representation. So that way, you know, if you have 10% of the people, you get 10% of the seats in the parliament.
Okay, so what will it take then to transition from our current form of government, whatever you call it, market economy, shell democracy, whatever, to the society, call it socialist, whatever you're going to call it? What will it take to transition from today to the future?
It will take a mass movement of billions and billions of people around the world, in our own country, and the same struggle goes on in other countries, and we link across the borders to our brothers and sisters, even though they don't look like us, even when they speak a different language from us, they're still our brothers and sisters. And really, this could only take place on an international scale.
Okay, so let's say hypothetically you have 1 billion followers. 1 billion.
Okay.
What are you going to do with 1 billion people?
With 1 billion people? Well,
you have followers. Okay, you got them. 1 billion, which is a lot. What are you going to do with them?
Well, I don't think I'm ever going to have 1 billion followers.
Yeah, but listen, but then...
What's going to happen is not a matter of following one charismatic leader. It's a matter of grassroots movements and a movement of movements.
Okay, you got it.
And linking up with different things. And
I got it. I got it. It's easy. So
no, it's not easy.
Hypothetically, you got 1 billion, as many as 1 billion followers. So what's your step two? That's kind of confounds me all the time because it seems like you never think about the step two. You got the followers. Okay, fine. You're there. So what will a group of 1 billion people do to change the system? For the better, hopefully.
For the better, hopefully, indeed. Otherwise, why are we doing it?
Exactly. So what's the step two?
I think that would probably vary from one country to another, but basically it would...
In America, we're talking about our country, the United States of America.
Well, in
we're
this
here.
country, obviously it would be a coalition. That's the political climate and the political culture. It's never going to be one party, one leader. Yes, follow us, follow me. We will show you to the promised land. It's never going to be like this. It's going to be a coalition of many groups, many peoples,
parties,
many struggles,
many parties,
parties, organizations, different types of organizations. Certainly not only parties, and basically it's going to be big enough that we take control of the government.
But then
and we set up a new government.
A new government.
You need a convention.
Elect the government or set up the government? There's a difference between the two.
Well, you would bring an end to the current government structure. You would set up a new one. So basically,
but what means?
You'd need a new constitution.
Elections.
You need new instructions. Well, you would never have elections right at the beginning. What you would have to do. Okay.
So what if a political system will we have here then? So let's say, like I said, you have 1 billion followers, out of which you have, let's say, 200 million in America. How would you see the economic policy and most importantly political makeup? Will there going to be like the president and the Senate, the House of Representatives, Supreme Court? There's going to be something, you said change the Constitution, something totally completely different. What's your vision? I mean, you're a scholar, you wrote a book.
Okay.
So from the scholarly perspective, I mean, how do you see it?
What I would foresee is you would have a parliamentary system with one body. You wouldn't have a Senate, and that the parliamentary body would be widely represented. It could be elected on the basis of states or one countrywide district, but you would have some form of political of proportional representation. There's different ways of doing that, but maybe we should think outside of that. Why should it only be based on that? So perhaps we could have more than one body, and you could have one body that's based on geography. New York is a big state, elects 50 representatives on a proportional representational basis. New Jersey's a little smaller. New Jersey elects 35 people. A little state like Vermont, maybe they elect 5 or 6 people. Or you could say, let's just have one giant constituent, which is what they do in the Netherlands, and have the entire country be one giant constituency.
So why
have a national vote and have everybody
Hello.
And have everybody take.
We're talking about the future of America, like the socialist future of America.
Right.
What is going to look like?
So
if we have 1 billion followers, if we have 1 billion followers, what's the future of America going to look like? Once 1 billion people will sign up.
So that could be one house of parliament, but you could also set up other parliaments that people would be represented in different ways, based on their profession, based on civic community groups, and have another house where people get elected and have people get represented in multiple ways. In Yugoslavia at one point, they had a 5-house, 5-chamber legislature, believe it or federal legislature, where they had one that was elected on
and then it collapsed. Okay.
And then they had a lot of other things. Well, they were trying different things out. I mean, it's
yeah, but
well, they didn't. Yugoslavia, that's a whole other story.
No,
it didn't fall apart because they had a 5-chamber legislature.
Okay, but here's my point. You said that you wrote 900 pages of the future, the way you see it.
Well,
and yet our founding fathers from the get-go wrote a very kind of, well, of course there was a body of discussion, but basically they came down to a very fundamental constitution, very kind of simplistic in terms of explaining the form of government. And that's something that has been working for over 2.5 centuries. Now you, in the 900 pages, you can't come, you're saying, oh, maybe this, maybe that. Why don't you come up with like something very specific and very concrete?
Well, because the first 700 pages are history, so only the last chapter of that book is about the future. And there I'm going through various ideas that people have. And most of that last chapter is taking up why you can't have democracy under capitalism and why it can never be a system that works for only other than a handful of people at the top of the pyramid. So there's only a small portion of it, and there I'm putting forth some ideas, but I'm also looking at some other ideas people have. In my next book, I do that. I have a whole chapter on various ideas that people have put forward, and like, hey, let's kick these ideas around. Nobody has an idea. There's no blueprint. There's no model.
But you should.
Here's the model. Let's do this. Whatever in another better world beyond in a post-capitalist world, in a post-capitalist United States, it's going to be created in the making of it. There's never going to be a blueprint or a model. Now we have to have ideas, and we have to kick these things around. And I think it's very healthy for doing what we're doing and thinking about what this work out. But none of us know or can know, with precision what it's going to be like.
But one thing for sure, that this system that they're striving for will be better than the one that we currently have.
That is certainly the aim. Absolutely,
I see.
That's the purpose.
And you're absolutely certain about that.
Well,
you don't know how, but you know it will be better.
Well, there's no guarantees in life, is there?
So you don't know that.
Capitalism is going to collapse anyway. So it's really going to be a matter of we're going to have to replace it. So we can wait around and wait for another few decades or so toward the end, sometime in the second half of the 21st century. Certainly not tomorrow or next week. Sometime in the second half, it's all going to collapse anyway. And
you believe in that?
And if we're all atomized and we're all downcast and we're all struggling to survive, what's going to happen is the people who are at the top of the pyramid of the capitalist world are going to find the way and are going to pose some kind of feudalism or fascism or some combination of some bastard combination of the two on us, and it's going to be even worse because outright brutality, and they will be killing people in this country quite openly because it's going to be the only way they'll be able to keep themselves at the top. The alternative to that is for people to start gathering together and saying like, okay, what's a better world going to look like? What do we want it to be like? How do we bring it about? Let's start organizing for now. That's our choice. There's no stasis in this world, and capitalism is going to have its day like every other system in the world. Capitalism is just something of human construction. Everything of human construction has a time frame. It comes to life, it has its life, it dies. Capitalism is no different and will not be any different.
So you don't believe that our founding fathers were the geniuses that created such a unique system of government that has successfully survived for, like I said before, 2.5 centuries. When you look around, there's so many. Look at Russia, look at Europe, look at any country in the world. It went through crisis. They went through changing of government from monarchy to anarchy, to revolutions, to guillotines, to fascism, to democracy. We've been stable all along. We didn't change. So why do you want to change it?
Switzerland's been stable for 700
okay,
years
perfect.
now.
So why wouldn't we take it from the book, take it from the countries that have a proven success record, and just use it? I don't understand that part.
Switzerland is a capitalist country. It's not immune to
but you said, but it has been successful for as long as you said. Your words,
also,
700 years.
Switzerland, everybody thinks, everybody just respects Swiss neutrality. Switzerland is one of the most heavily armed countries on Earth. That's why it doesn't get invaded.
Maybe that's the key. Well, so why wouldn't we take that from the Swiss?
If we have a world socialist system and everybody works together and we have a global division of empire, then there's something for everybody. People take from other countries and from other people because it's all hoarded and people don't have enough. And when you're desperate enough, you start doing things like that. If we have a world where everybody has enough to live on, nobody's got to take anything from anybody, and we don't need all these arms.
Well, that's not going to happen. We always need arms.
Sure it can happen. Sure it can happen.
You're walking around the streets, you live in certain areas, and then we have war in Ukraine, we have China threatening us,
because people don't have enough, because you have people that's massive inequality.
That's the reason.
That's where everything comes down to. You don't have enough. And
but when we talk about, let's say you talk about inequality, where would you draw the line? Who would you consider rich? This is another fundamental question. Who is a rich person? In the world, in America, who is rich? You're railing against the rich. Who is rich?
It's a matter of who has the means, who owns and controls and profits from the means of production.
So it doesn't matter if
you have to look on things in a class. See, that was the brilliancy of Occupy when they made it the 1% versus the 99%. Now dispute that 1%. I actually would too. The people at the top. Okay. Okay, let's go. All right. So.
What is your blog?
Maxima.
Oh, Maxima.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fala português?
No, no
No.
portugués. Un poquito de español.
I see, okay.
Are you from Brazil?
I'm from USSR, but
USSR?
I'm dealing with Brazil. Yeah, I have some Brazilian connection. USSR. I never lived in Russia. That's why
You never lived in Russia.
I never say I'm from Russia, because when I left that part of the world, it was still USSR. The only citizenship that I had before the US citizenship was the citizenship of the Union of the Soviet Socialist Republics.
Oh, wow.
I interview a woman on my feminist radio show who is an anti-war Russian feminist activist.
You can interview me about the USSR if you want to. I'll give you my
No,
comments.
it's a feminist radio show.
Oh, feminist. Oh,
Feminist movement.
I can't blend in.
Why do you can say that to me. I was something on that. So anyway, yeah. So anyway, I'm very interested in what's been going on in the USSR under Putin.
I can hardly hear. I'm sorry. That's why I'm so close.
It's the mask, I
Music.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah, the mask and the music.
There's a big anti-war movement in Russia, and that is being cracked down on hard by.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The whisk that way, like, good old socialist countries, of course. I mean, not so totalitarian. There's no socialism in Putin's Russia.
It's being led
Dictatorship. Yeah, basically, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and it's being apparently led by women, by feminists, which is really interesting. So I'm getting about to do that interview.
Okay.
To catch up with what's going on. Even in Russia, it's so heartening that even in Russia, which is, you can get 3 years in jail now for using the wrong words against their bombing of
How about
Ukraine.
this?
Wait, I wasn't finished. Excuse me, I wasn't finished.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can get 3 years now, right, in jail. If you say the wrong thing, right? And a
Correct.
lot of activists have left.
Yes.
Or are going to go to jail.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's serious.
So in Russia today, I mean, it sounds anecdotal, but it's not anecdotal for the people who do it. You go literally with a blank piece of paper. You just stand in the street with a blank piece of paper. They'll arrest you. A blank piece of paper. That's how paranoid this country has become.
Well, I guess the authorities know what they're doing by doing that.
Yeah, of course they know, sure.
Because that's the
Yeah,
authoritarian mind.
they're not paranoid. They're trying to absolutely squash any rebellion. They know that that's serious.
But what if it's a blank piece of paper? Blank piece of paper. Oh, by the way, if you say that you are, let's say, for peace, I mean, what's wrong with saying, and May Day, these are 3 words that I use on May Day demonstrations, which is Mir, Trud, May, which means peace, labor, May. So, I mean, this is one of the slogans that have been in the USSR, I mean, forever. I lived over there, Mir, Trud, May.
Okay.
You cannot say peace anymore.
Ridiculous.
Well, that's why you're gonna bring America?